Edna Kimble, Edna Sells, Century 21 Right Real Estate, and welcome to today's episode on how to real estate. And we have an OG, I guess. That's
Sure.
a good way to put it. We have Scott Gasaway joining us. He is currently with Chinowth Cohen out of, is Broken Arrow your primary?
Tulsa.
Tulsa.
South Tulsa
South
office.
Tulsa, okay. And we have done dozens of deals together.
At least over the last 4 years.
Yeah, maybe more than dozens. Scott is my referral partner for that area, and we have 3 over there, and Scott does a phenomenal job.
Oh, thank you.
So Scott, tell us, and this is the crazy part. So 4 years we've worked together.
Yes.
And we met the first time
Today.
And I always say that, like, my best service people, like the roofers, the electricians, I never actually meet these people. I wouldn't know them if I passed them, because when you do the thing that you're supposed to do, you know, lots of texting.
Yeah, 10 years ago, you always met people in person, but
Yes.
now it's via text, it's via email and everything else. But interesting how you guys came to me is
Yes.
through somebody that used to be on my team,
Right.
Amy Yarnell Carter.
Yes.
And her dad was really good with books and multi-level marketing, a very dynamic personality.
As Amy.
Amy was one of my favorites, and I hadn't talked to her for about 2 years after she left my team and came down here. When she called me and said, "Are you still doing real estate?" I said, "Well, of course I am.
Yeah, what else would I do?" Yeah.
And she says, "Well, great. I have Edna, the lady I work with, needs a good referral up there." And that's when you first sent me somebody, and it went smooth, and we've just been going.
Click, click, click.
Now, I wish I could send you more, but I just don't have many people
Not
moving
as
this
many
direction.
people, yeah, more people moving into the Tulsa
Right.
Broken Arrow area. So because we really don't know each other other than through the work, tell us what do you do when you're not real estating? What's your family life look like?
Well, I have 2 children. One is 24 years old. Sorry, 23, Katie. She's 23 years old. She just graduated from University of Central Oklahoma in Edmond. She played 4 years of soccer for the Broncos down there.
Oh, wow.
And she is starting PA school at OU Tulsa in June.
Oh.
And my youngest son is 20 years old. My youngest, not my youngest son, but my youngest is 20, and he's at Oklahoma State in mechanical engineering. And my wife is in the event business. She's executive vice president of event operations for a company called Endeavor, which used to be Penwell Publishing Company out of Tulsa.
Okay.
I met her in Southern California when I was umpiring in the minor leagues. I spent 5 years as an umpire getting yelled at. I was telling Jill I got yelled at for a living. Met
Oh,
her.
you still do.
I do. I still get yelled at for a living. But she worked for one of the ball clubs, and we just developed a relationship. And she moved to Tulsa, and we got married. And I retired from baseball and was in the wine and spirit business for a year, and then realized that the best way to make unlimited funds by working,
Yeah, the
hard
time you
would
put
be
in.
in real estate.
Yeah.
Because it's based on you. If you work hard, you make money. If you don't, you don't make money. So it's a difficult business for some that aren't self-motivated.
Right.
But if you're self-motivated, it's a fantastic career to go into.
And if you're semi-motivated, get on a team.
Yes. No, absolutely. Because I'm sure, I don't know how you set your team up, but I provided everything for everybody on my team. Signs, cards, expertise, and all I asked them to do is just go sell, and then I made a small portion off what they did.
Yeah.
But I basically was Papa Bear,
Yeah,
Mama
yeah,
Bear for you,
yeah.
I'm sure. But so then I came back, and my father officiated football since the 60s. I worked in their arena, or not the arena, but the World League, the USFL, and major college basketball and football for years. So I was always an official. Again, just loved getting yelled at. Worked 12 years in Conference USA as a college football official. Had the pleasure of working 4 bowl games, 1 conference championship game. Was in Yankee Stadium. Worked in the Hawaii Bowl.
Oh my goodness.
So that's kind of what I did, and real estate gave me the opportunity to do that because I set my own hours and I had my team, and I was able to leave on a Friday and come back on Sundays.
Wow,
So, but
that's good.
currently I like to play a lot of golf. I was fortunate enough to get 190 rounds in last year. Don't like to really admit that out in public, but real estate, and once you're in it for so long and you stop chasing
Right.
real estate, it comes to you.
Yeah, and just before the camera started, I clarified. He was trying to explain how he does real estate. I was like, look, we all know you're relational.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
absolutely. I actually tease my clients when we become friends. I mean, they're clients / friends. And so when they say they're relocating and I send them to you, I let them know you better not love him more than me, because they always call and say, oh my gosh, thank you so
Good.
much for sending us to
Good.
Scott, you know, and I'm like, okay, but I'm still your favorite,
Right.
right? You know, so.
Well, and everybody that you've sent up this way, there hasn't been a single situation that hasn't worked out perfectly. And that's just kind of the way I live my life, though. I just know that what's meant to be is going to be.
Absolutely.
And so if we don't get this house, it'll be the next one. And I just try to, if you will, comfort the client and say,
Yeah.
hey, this isn't it. This is the one that you're supposed to have. We'll find it.
Yeah.
That's what happened just the other day with the clients you just sent.
Oh, perfect.
So-
Good. I'm so excited for them.
But-
So, yeah. Okay, so then how did you end up, you were in California. How did you end up in the Tulsa market?
Well, I was born and raised in Tulsa.
Oh,
My parents
okay.
are from Tulsa. My mother was one of the, I guess, OGs of the piano teaching business, and she taught all over the country called pedagogy, which is teaching teachers how to teach. So she went to University of Tulsa and helped set up the music program at University of Tulsa back in the 60s. And so she had a big, large piano school here, and my father was a First Amendment attorney and a criminal defense attorney in Tulsa, and so he went to University of Tulsa as well. So I was raised and went to a small private elementary school that my grandmother owned in
my
Tulsa. It was called Ann Simpson's New School for Elementary Education on the corner of 18th and Detroit. So my graduating sixth grade class had 6 people in it.
Oh my gosh.
So
yeah.
I was, always nurtured when I was young. Parents both were so busy, so I had to kind of figure things out. Didn't fare well in school, much past that. School wasn't for me. I consider myself more the street smart, intuitive guy,
Which I want to say, those make the best realtors,
without question.
right? Because
Absolutely.
you've got to figure it out on the fly
Yep.
and solve the problem and
Yeah.
keep things moving forward. Yeah.
And to that note, what most people don't understand about real estate, the clients, and even some of my friends, this is not a sales position.
Oh, not at all.
Everybody thinks,
not
and even
sales
my mom, before they passed away, my mom was like, why didn't you tell them where they could put their furniture? I said, Mom, I can't sell your house. My job is to get from point A to point B from a contractual standpoint and protect you from a legal standpoint and solve problems.
Right.
That's what you pay me for,
Absolutely.
not to sell a house.
Yeah.
I
And you
can't-
work primarily with buyers too, don't you?
primarily with buyers, listings, occasionally, I probably had 7 or 8 listings last year,
Oh,
but I
okay.
probably had 20 buyers.
Okay.
It's primarily buyer. I enjoy working the buyers
Yeah.
better. I enjoy the attitude that most of the buyers have,
Okay.
and just the warmth knowing that they're looking for what they want to have.
Yeah.
Sometimes on the sales side, you deal with sellers that aren't agreeable to what your professional opinion may be.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, the price point.
And a lot of the demands of you're going to do an open house Saturday and Sunday and these things. And I personally don't do an open houses anymore.
Oh,
Now I
okay.
have someone do them for me if somebody really
Oh,
wants
okay.
to do.
So you still believe in open
I
houses?
still believe in
Okay.
them,
We
and-
think open houses are the
Yeah.
holy grail here. So.
Yeah, up in Tulsa it's a little different because people will drive by the neighborhoods that they want to live in, and then they'll just see a sign and they'll pop in. So it's a little bit different, and you have a lot of nosy neighbors. When I stopped doing the open houses was when I realized that most of the people coming lived in the neighborhood, and they would give me false names on
Oh
the
my
sign-in
gosh.
sheets. So you try to call, and it's some grandma, and so I just was like, it's not worth my time or my seller's time
Yeah.
if they live there to vacate the property, get it all ready, and vacate for 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
So.
And one of the things that we really push on this podcast is being the local expert.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different markets. Am I allowed to sell in Tulsa? Absolutely. Legally, ethically, all of that. But at the end of the day, it's not in my client's best interest for me to try to run up there and show them a home. I don't know the neighborhood. I don't know that that's a standard thing for open houses up there.
Yeah.
And the same for Scott doesn't come here. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
And-
being the expert in your area.
And it's, with MLS, it's helped to make us experts in any, you can become an expert in Broken Arrow in probably 5 hours if you get online and look at neighborhoods. And however, you don't want to do that because that's not where your focus needs to be.
Right.
Whereas there's people up here and like if I had someone moving here, I don't want to come all the way down here, and
Yeah.
I know that you would handle it perfectly. So we've even had a situation. You've called me and asked, "Hey, would you sell somebody here?" And I'm like,
Yes.
"Too far. I'm not going to
Right,
Keystone
right.
Lake.
Again.
It's not worth my time and effort to do it." So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then I was able to get you to somebody. I think that took
Absolutely.
care of it,
A
so.
referral.
Right.
So what do you think right now is kind of the biggest challenge in your market?
Man, just kind of what we talked about before we came on air. The fact that the price range is under 350 right now. You have so many buyers that are sitting here waiting for the perfect house to pop. And when it does, we'll say 20 buyers. 8 of those 20 will run out in the next 24 to 36 hours to see it. And because they feel this pressure, you're going to get 5 or 6 offers above full price. And so it gives the illusion of a very strong market. But if you look at the market as a whole, inventory numbers, and then above that, you see that the whole overall market is declining a little bit in Tulsa area. So,
And what I find because we had even discussed like state, global, national.
right,
Even if our market is strong, if someone in California, Texas, Colorado, if their markets are weak and they can't sell, then they can't come here to buy.
correct. And
You're
we're
right.
seeing
So
an inversion of
that's-
that right now.
yeah.
That's why our market, in my opinion, in Tulsa is still fairly strong in that 350, is we're getting an influx. A lot of the people in my company, buyers from California that are investing here in rental properties still, even though commercial money has gotten much higher,
Right.
they're still coming in paying cash. So people are starting to vacate California. My last 2 clients were from out of state, from either coast.
Yeah.
And they just said, we got to get out. Lady that you sent me, I won't mention the name, but the Midtown,
Okay.
the
yes,
Midtown
yeah.
referral, I showed it. I called her and asked to show it before we went on market. We're not on market yet, and it was to another realtor in my company that asked if I didn't hit pockets in Midtown. It was a 28-year-old couple down here looking at a $1.3 million listing.
I was going to say for that house.
They live on, they currently live on Wall Street in Manhattan in a small townhome or a flat
Yeah.
that's like 1,000 square feet, and they're paying $4,500 a month.
Oh my gosh.
So you're seeing, and I'm like, why would you choose here? And they're like, we just had to get out of there. My wife knows a friend here. Here we are.
And so many of them can work from anywhere in the world. So
Yeah, and after COVID,
yeah.
you had so much. My wife, who was in this event business, she wasn't traveling for 2 years, but so she worked from home, set up a nice big office at home, and so she still works 50% from home, and then we'll travel when needed. But so we're seeing still the remnants of this coming from other states, but I think once we get the global issues roll over into the United States with the banks, with Evergrande, who's a large holder of bonds in the real estate market in the country. That just went default. These banks go in default. So I think we are in for a short-term, really hard time.
So if you had someone who needed to sell, would you advise them to wait until next spring? Would you say wait till midsummer? Wait till
Great question. The only problem with that is if it was just to sell and they didn't have to pick up anything, I would say let's get it on the market right now, because we are still in, especially under $400,000 or $500,000.
Yeah.
We're still in that market where there's still a demand for it.
and the Tulsa broken arrow.
Tulsa broken arrow.
400,000 is
Right.
not a strong thing in our market
Right.
right now. So
But in our market up in Tulsa, it's that 350, 400 and down. If you have to sell it now, because the rates, in my opinion, and from what my research is, will jump up. I think a little bit more. 7.5%, maybe 8%. Kind of like back when I bought my house at 12%. But so even though 8 seems high now, it's considerably historically comparative to the late 90s when I bought my first house, and it was at 12.5%. Now, if you had the opportunity to sell and you had a rental property that was coming open and you could go live in there, that's your ideal situation. One of my clients just did that. We got their house sold for 20% over what I thought it would sell for,
wow,
and they
good
moved
job.
into their rental, and they're just sitting tight in their rental until things sell, because they're looking into 5 to 6.
Okay.
So they're just sitting there TikTok watching it continue to go down 10,000 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So they're waiting till that adjusts. But definitely a different market down here. I did a little bit of research on Tahlequah just before I came down, and you guys are still just humming along
killing
because
it.
the price range and everything down here. It's
Yeah.
and
we have so much new industry.
Yes.
So there's still a housing need, but again, we do kind of top out. We don't go as quite as high as you do. So yeah.
But it's a very good market, balanced for you from what I see. A little bit favoring the sellers at this time still. At least that's what I kind of picked up on, or no?
But you know what you said before the camera started rolling? They really need to be spit shined
Yes.
and priced properly.
Without
We're
question.
not in the price range that we were 6 months ago or this time last year. So, also what I love is when people know their stats, and you were throwing out some pretty solid stats. So share those with us on the MLS as far as the listings.
So when it comes to kind of what I do and how I approach my business in Tulsa is I work from home now. I no longer chase it. A lot of it just comes to me. I play a lot of golf, like I mentioned, but I do every Monday. I'm a very stat-driven person. I study, like I mentioned, global markets, regional markets, and when it comes to Tulsa, I've been following the MLS since before COVID. You know, we used to be on average about 12,000 to 12,500 total inventory, and that of course encompasses down here. It encompasses Eufaula. It encompasses Northeast.
And I think most people don't realize that we're actually on the same multi-list
Correct.
as the Tulsa market. So
Yeah.
that's why it kind of works. Okay.
So then COVID hit and things started getting kind of weird everywhere. And we got to a low, I think it was in November, a low of 2,800 houses active on the market. It's now since, as of this past Monday, up to 3,650, I believe it was yesterday when I did my Monday morning check. But so what I do is I'll go down and look at how many actives, and then I'll do a pending for the last 8 days. Okay, from the previous Monday to this Monday. So I'll pull, and I do it in increments of 100,000. So I'll do 100 to 200, 200, 300, 300, 400, 400, 500, and above 500.
I do it every Monday morning. So those of you who watch me,
Great minds.
I do it. Yeah, absolutely.
And then I do the same thing with closed, but I only do closed for the last 14 days.
Okay.
Okay, I don't go back to the 90 days because a rolling 15 to 30 days is going to give you a better indicator of what's happening in the last 15, because this market is changing rapidly.
It's like a moving target.
What-
That's what I
100%.
tell my clients, and you've got to just kind of keep adjusting to it.
It's-
yeah, and being aware of those stats makes a big difference.
And that's why it's important to have a professional realtor. I mean, there's still a lot of people that say, well, I just want to sell it myself. You know, in normal markets, okay, you know,
Yeah.
you can call me with a question and I'll suggest that. But right now, because of what we just talked about, the moving target, it could change tomorrow. In a blink of an eye,
Right.
everything could flip upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I've had a few for sale by owners put their home on the market, secure a buyer, and then when the appraisal came in, all bets were off. And what I'm finding is that the appraisers trust the professionals that were pricing the homes right and getting them into contract. Whereas
Absolutely.
when it's too layman, the appraiser's not comfortable with those numbers.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but they had to kind of back up and involve us in that process. So
You know, we're seeing a lot of that in Tulsa, and I haven't figured out why yet, nor have I really called all the realtors and asked. But we're seeing, I don't know if you see it down here, but we're seeing a number of homes back on the market within 2 weeks.
yeah,
And I don't think it's appraisal issues, because I look at the price of them, I'm like, that's within the range. I don't know if these people are falling out of contract on their houses or inspections, but it's just odd to me. I've never seen so many houses
what I think
come back.
some of that is happening, and we're actually pushing our buyers to do this. They're using pre-approval letters that are still viable because they're within 90
90
days,
days, yeah.
but those numbers are not accurate anymore
Because of the rate increases.
And so we've actually started really kind of pushing. If I've got the seller, I'm going to want, you know, a pre-approval letter within the last 10 days. So because it really can change that much.
Yeah.
And now with insurance going up, between the insurance and the interest rates, you may have been pre-approved for, you know, 300,000 and you're
Now you're
still
260.
pre-approved, but you're not comfortable with those house payments.
Yeah,
So
correct.
that might be it. You
Yep.
might check into that.
But
so.
it's the one thing I haven't really gone down that rabbit hole yet, is trying to figure out why I'm seeing so many
Yeah.
come back on the market in this price range that's a
And it's
popping.
not good for the market.
It's
when that
not.
happens.
It's not at all.
It
So
gives like a false, almost like a dark cloud over a property when that's not necessarily the case.
it
So,
is. And going back to what you were saying, that we didn't touch further on about making sure the listing is spit shined and perfect and
Yes.
clean. It's best to always have your professional realtor come over 2 weeks prior to potential listing and go through it like you're a buyer. I'm going to buy your home. What would turn me off to this? And they have to understand that it's not personal.
No,
And
not
they,
at all.
you know,
I have to do it to sell my home.
I know.
Yeah.
And I couldn't
yeah.
sell my house right now.
Right.
I have
Oh,
But
Well, we live one way, but when you go to sell, it should be another
it's your
way.
professional opinion on what you should do. And I tell all the listing clients, I've told the
Yes.
Midtown person, I said, when I come in, I'm going to tell you brutally honest.
Yeah.
And if you don't like what I have to say, there's a lot of other people that you can call up that will gladly tell you what you want to hear. I said, but I'm not in the business of that.
It can cost you a
I'm
lot
in the
of money.
business of selling your home
Yeah.
for the most amount of money possible.
Yeah.
And some people after 20 years, you've learned to let it roll
Yes.
as
yeah.
a professional realtor. But there were times where they were like, I disagree with everything you said, leave. And I'm like, gladly.
Oh, wow.
I mean, of course, we're a little different market. We don't, down
That's
here
true.
most never.
That's true.
But,
yeah.
And used to have these people will call me and they'll say, we'd love to come interview you. And this sounds maybe a little arrogant, but it's I don't mean it to come this way.
Yeah.
But in the last 3 or 4 years, I say, how many other people are you going to interview? Well, we have 2 other appointments. I said, I'll tell you what, I don't interview for listings anymore. I'm a referral based. I'd love to take care of you. You call me after those 2 interviews if they don't go well and you want to talk to me at that point. And what it does is it helps eliminate me now at this stage in my career
Yeah.
from wasting the time away from my family, away from home to go to this thing. I'm not a dog and pony show. I don't have PowerPoint presentations. I go and talk to you.
Right. Right.
So
And
it's
a lot of them, those are individuals looking for the least expensive.
correct.
So
And that's the other
I'm
reason
not
I
that
say
person.
that. I know you're not. And that's not,
Yeah.
all of my business right now, I would say 95% of my business is point-to-point, person-to-person referrals.
Okay.
And that's what we get after 25 years or 20 years
Absolutely.
of qualified service
Results.
results.
Yeah.
Bottom line is,
Right.
it's funny, I see your 2.1 days. When I was first in and was on a large team, and I had a lot of cash investors and I was selling, you still got me, but I was selling one every 2.5 days. And that
Oh,
was
that's
that was
great,
on
yeah.
all my marketing and advertising, home sold every 2.5 days.
Yeah. yeah.
So I saw the 2.1, I was like,
Yeah.
gosh,
We
you got
probably need to update that a little.
to 1.5.
I haven't ran those numbers lately, but
I'm sure they're awfully
still-
close.
I'm still comfortable with them. Well,
Yeah.
it is 2 different markets, and just based upon some of the things we've talked about, that's why I think it's so important to work with someone local. And so if you're looking to sell or purchase in the Tulsa, Broken Arrow, Bigsby, go into a little bit of
Broken Arrow,
Owasso.
Bixby, Jenks, Owasso, Skytook, Collinsville. I work pretty much about 20 to 30 miles around.
Okay.
Coweta to the east is about as far as I like
You
to
say
go.
about an hour drive?
About
A little smaller, okay. So
About-
you're
about
a
a-
micro expert. I like it.
about
I like
about
it.
40 miles.
Okay, and there has to be like a golf course within sight to take the deal.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I enjoy any type of listing, any type of business. Like I just mentioned, though, I don't really interview for listings.
Sure.
If it's referred to me, I've asked Randy, who just sent me a lady
Yes,
in
yeah.
West Tulsa, which if she's around, I need to talk to her about. But I just won't go interview
Yeah.
for it. It's like if it's a referral to me and it's a referral to the client, then
Absolutely.
I go do that. But I work about 40 miles around town. Skytook Lake is about as far to the north as I'll go.
Okay.
I live in the middle of Tulsa, right smack dab at 71st in Harvard area.
Oh wow.
So I'm right in the
that
middle.
is literally in the
7
middle.
miles to Admiral, 7 miles to 141st, which
That's
is in
a great
Bixby.
location.
So I've been there for 21 years. And but I'll do anything as far east as Coweta, as far north as Skytook, as far west as Sapulpa. I did some business in Bristol. I did a lot of land deals in Bristol, but that's an easy 44 drive, and my daughter was at UCO. So
it was on the way.
it's on the way. But I welcome all business. Like I said, everything is referral to me now.
Okay.
And I love that you
And-
guys sent me so much last year. And
Yeah.
I think you did get the gift basket, didn't you?
Yes,
Okay, Magnolia soap.
phenomenal. And there's a funny story. I got the gift basket delivered to my home. Gorgeous gift basket. And then it was signed Scott. Well, there's another Scott. And I was like, why did Scott send me like the whole team? And then it was about a day and a half later, we were like, oh, Scott. Because I was like, that is really weird that this other Scott would have sent me a gift basket.
that could be confusing.
It was
But
great though.
It was a
beautiful
great,
basket.
great
Yeah.
successful year between the both of us in sharing
It really
business,
was,
and
yeah.
it's also supporting my friend who owns Magnolia Soap Cafe there at 15th and
That's
Cherry
right,
Street,
yes,
and they
a
have a little
wonderful
spot in the
product.
mall, and
Yeah.
so I use that for all my closing gifts because It's like, well, you want a bottle of wine? Well, they don't drink. Well, how
Yeah.
about this? Well, I don't like that. But
Everybody
those back,
bathes.
everybody does laundry and loves candles, and it's all natural. And so
Yeah.
I've started doing that for every closing, and the
Oh, that's
response has been
wonderful.
fantastic. So
That's fantastic.
I figured,
yeah.
you would enjoy it as well.
Yes, it was definitely high end. Yeah, very posh. I loved it for sure. So when you're not doing the real estate thing, you're probably doing a lot of sports, watching sports.
I do a lot of research.
Okay, on sports?
No, just
No,
on.
just that's your fun thing, your hobby.
I do a lot of research on health and wellness. I do a lot of research
Okay.
on international affairs. I do a lot of research on global economy.
You're
It's
just a big old nerd.
I
love
am.
it. We love our nerds.
I had a hip replacement in 2017.
So that's the thing we have in common.
We do.
Is we both, which right or left,
Right,
posterior or anterior?
anterior. It was bone on bone. They had
Oh gosh.
they put everything. It's years of umpiring and officiating and
Okay.
wear and tear on this right hip.
Okay, yeah, so we both had the right hip
Yep.
done.
So when that happened,
We don't recommend people join that club.
No. But when that happened back in 2017, my last game on the field was at North Texas in December 7th in 2017, and I knew that I couldn't do anything else. I had injections all year to get through the season, and I mean I couldn't take my uniform off without help. So I knew it was time. So and my daughter was getting ready to go to school at UCO and play soccer on the fall on Fridays and Sundays.
Gosh, yeah.
So it was the perfect timing. Again, everything just happens for reasons that. So I got my hip replaced in 18, and for the 30 days I was sitting at home, obviously I don't want to get into any politics stuff, but there was a lot of stuff going on. So I'm like, I want to know what really is true. So I just started going out into the webs and finding 2 or 3 sources. And once I found 3 sources, I'm like, okay, I can believe this.
Right.
So, and ever since then, I've just continued to go down this path of researching, homeopathic stuff and different things that, this isn't the platform to go into all those things. But so I research and then I play golf.
Yeah.
And I play a lot of golf with my son. He just picked up the game a year ago and shot his first 79 within 6 months of picking up the game.
Wow, you gave him some pointers.
I didn't, other than if you throw a club when playing with me, you can
You're
turn
out
around and go
here.
home. But he works at Meadowbrook in the summer.
Oh, nice.
He played
Okay.
4 years of soccer at Bishop Kelly, won 3 state championships there.
He's
and
a natural then.
natural athlete.
Yeah.
He's hand-eye coordination's great. He took some lessons and then just practiced and practiced. So he's all ate up by the game of golf, and he works at the Meadowbrook Country Club in the
Yes,
summer, all
nice.
summer. And
Yeah, that's not a bad gig.
so between golf and I've got 2 golden retrievers that I play with, but I like to read, I like to research, I like to know things.
Yeah, that's a good
that's
thing.
just the
yes.
best way to put it.
Yeah,
And with real estate and technology allowing us now a lot more free time.
Are you using the AI on anything yet?
No.
No? Okay. Well,
No,
we'll do a podcast on that, Jill. Let's write that down.
Yeah, and I'll have to watch it because I'm old school. It took me a long time to even do the dot loop thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I've never been a tech savvy guy. I've never, just even trying to get one of my listings on the Facebook is
Yeah,
difficult. I got to
yeah.
have help on it. But
Yeah.
like I was telling Jill, I'm more of a people guy.
Yeah.
I can solve any problem you put in my way.
Yes.
I could figure it out. Son of an attorney.
Oh, there you
I
go.
know contract law extremely well. So
Yeah.
if there's a contractual problem, I can figure it out
That's
and
perfect.
backed on law because that's what our job is.
Don't you
It's-
wish that more people really took the time to learn what the contract actually says? We could avoid, honestly, 75% of all hiccups.
I hope this
you
doesn't
know.
get shared worldwide in Tulsa or globally or
It's
locally in
going
Tulsa.
to, so careful.
But there's, and I have no problem saying this, and I think Cheryl would agree with this, that there's about 25 to 35% of the people in our business that don't understand what our contract is.
Absolutely.
They'll go to class to
Yeah.
get their continuing education
Right.
and say they know it, but if there's posed a contractual problem, a real problem, not a make-believe problem with a
Right.
date or something,
Yeah.
but a real problem, there's about 30% would be my guess of people that don't understand
Says,
what they are,
and
what it says,
you're
and what they are.
obligated for.
And
Yeah.
and what's frustrating is we've become so litigious in the last 15 years that the contract, my dad used to write the original, well, I won't say original, but he used to write the real estate contracts for the state of Oklahoma back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
1 page, 2 pages.
Wow.
You know, one page of disclosure. And now with the litigious society we've kind of moved into, the contract is
Yeah.
To
And
me.
it literally says in there that all parties agree to go to mediation
yes.
prior to. And everybody wants to skip that part, but
Yeah,
the
exactly.
only people who win are the attorneys. Nothing against the attorneys, but sometimes sitting down and having a
Very valid
conversation.
point. I mean,
Yeah.
when people want to go sue and pay attorneys $5,000 each for a $2,000 earnest money,
I
or
never
for
understand that.
you know, it
It is odd.
it is odd. Unfortunately, I've only been involved in I probably had 4,500 sales in my career, and only had one situation where I got into a lawsuit where my company had to back me. It was not my fault.
Right.
Had to do with disclosures in a Midtown Tulsa home, and basement built in 1928.
Oh, wow.
Had a basement. Basements in Tulsa in Midtown below water level, so you get some water seepage. You have that issue. Basement was dry when they came for inspections. The inspector said it looks like it passed. There's been a little bit of water in here because of this and that. So they asked us to seal it. We sealed it. Seller had no knowledge of any water being down there, standing water when they lived there. So they had no knowledge of what had happened maybe before they lived there.
Right.
We had the worst rain 5 years ago by the Arkansas River when all the floods were happening in Tulsa. And this is close to there, and so the water table is very high, and they got about 4 inches of water in the basement, and it ruined some of their antique stuff that they put on the floor in a basement in Midtown.
Yeah.
So they sued me, they sued my company, they sued my sellers for non-disclosure. They couldn't prove anything, but the attorneys both got their money, and my sellers eventually just agreed to pay them $10,000 to go away. That's the only situation I've had, but you know, and that's the importance though of understanding the contracts and understanding what the disclosures are,
Right.
and making sure your sellers list everything. I don't care if it was 10 years
Put it
ago.
on there. If you're aware of it.
10 years ago,
yeah.
and it was a squirrel got in your attic and fell through the roof, and you replaced the sheetrock and repainted it, just put it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I purchased my home and moved in. I was 2 years into real estate. 1 month after I moved in, my neighbor in a heavy rainstorm came over to me and he goes, "Hey man, I just want to let you know, the middle portion of your wooden fence is down in the cul-de-sac."
Oh no, it washed it away.
Because the water would come from up above, and they didn't disclose that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I ended up having to replace the fence. And then about a year later, I was getting a leak in my skylight. I was like, oh shoot, I better go in the attic. So I climb up in the attic, and big 2-story house, and I had to go through my daughter's bedroom and then climb up to the attic and climb over there. And I get up there and I pull the insulation back, and there's a towel stuck in there.
Oh my gosh.
So I know that they
Yikes.
didn't disclose that they had a leak.
If there
in the
was a
skylight.
towel there, that's a little, yeah.
So, but at that point, there's nothing I'm going to do about it. Because if I
Right.
try to sue, it's going to cost me $10,000 for what I can fix for
Yeah.
$500.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And sometimes it just comes down to common sense. Even though you feel like you've been wronged, in the long run, it may not be worth it.
and you know
Yeah,
what though?
chase
What I've
that.
learned in the past 5 years, forgiveness reflects back on you
Oh,
more
that's
than it
true.
does.
Yeah.
I had someone stole my 6 a.m. in the morning. My Sequoia was parked out in front of my house, and some ladies were walking. I heard them yelling, and then about 2 minutes later, banging on my front door. I opened the door. They said, "This guy was underneath your car, and well, he stole my Cadillac convertible."
Oh god, that's a thing right now. Isn't it?
Yeah, and you know that's going to cost me $600-700 to replace. And the tow truck from AAA guy comes, and because I just didn't want to drive it, sounding like a
Yes.
18-year-old kid in college. Tow truck guy comes at 7 o'clock in the morning. Says, "Oh, I bet you're pissed." I'm like, you know what? I forgive the guy. You know, if he needs that more than I do, I'm not going to let this moment ruin my whole day.
Yeah.
You know, so by forgiving him, I had a great day.
Yes.
I ended up, matter of fact, it was a day that I believe you gave me. I got a referral from you, and then I went out and played golf. You know, so did it cost me money? It did. But what is money and happiness? You know, happiness is what you have in your heart.
Yeah.
You know, and
absolutely.
so you just try to forgive people and move forward. And when people say something about you in a negative light, that's just a reflection on them.
Right. That's
You know,
true.
and once you start to understand that, life becomes so much better.
Yeah, I try to look at it as if someone's really annoying me or I find them annoying, there's something in there about them that I'm seeing in myself, and so I think,
100%.
okay, I need to work on that.
And this past year has been more of a spiritual growth for me because I what you just said.
Yeah.
If this guy's just annoying me, one of the guys at the golf course, and I just don't like playing with him, then that's not his problem.
Right. It's absolutely
It's all on
not.
me.
Yeah. So two things with the team we say, your vibe attracts your tribe. So if all of your clients are crazy and difficult, maybe it's you that's crazy and difficult.
Yeah.
And I think you can attract the right people into
100%.
into your world. So, and that's why we're so excited that Scott came out today. Now, we always like to ask a couple of questions.
Sure.
For one, are you more river or more lake? Because Tahlequah's surrounded by rivers and lakes. Maybe Tulsa not so much, but what are you, a river guy or a lake guy?
Well, I've never grown up going to either.
Okay.
But if I had my druthers, I've had my manifestations in my dreams and stuff. I have a cabin on a lake, on a cove of a lake with a lot of very tall trees, a little fire pit, and a nice peace, quiet.
Okay.
So a cabin on a lake
The
that's
lake
off the
wins.
lake into a cove, and I own 3 acres around it, and it's just me and my dogs and my
Sounds
family.
very specific, Scott.
I've seen it in my dreams, and I've seen it more than once. So I just figured that's in a past life. That's my home. That's where I've lived before. Who knows?
I think we've got just the spot on like 10 killers, so we got to
Perfect.
check that out. Now, the other question, and you kind of already answered it without even knowing about this, but we always ask, like, what, if money was no issue, what are 3 things your dream home would have to have?
My wife, my dogs, and my kid.
Okay,
kids.
okay. On a lake with a fire pit.
Sure. As far as the physicality things of a house, we both like to cook. I had an extensive background in hotel restaurant, so I like to cook. I managed the Fountains restaurant years ago,
Oh, I
and
didn't know that. Yeah.
it's something that was before real estate and before
Yeah.
a lot of things. But so I enjoyed the restaurant industry, the fine dining side of things, the cooking. So it would have to have a wonderful kitchen,
Okay.
and it would have to be open to a great family room.
Okay.
Not one where you have that you see so common in the 300-400 that, well, I don't know if you hear, but online. Here's the kitchen, there's the island, there's the living.
Right.
It would have to be a nice big chef's kitchen, and then the family room,
A little offset.
probably 90 foot from wall to wall with a big, because you only live in those 2 rooms,
That's
and then
true.
the master bedroom.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to me, it would be a nice master bedroom. I have a fireplace and a TV above it in my master bedroom now with an office attached.
And Scott still says master too. Are you
Master.
trying to break yourself of that? Primary? Go to primary bedroom or?
No,
No.
I.
It is what we all know what it is.
It is what it is. But as far as the house goes, I'd like some land. I've had 5 golden retrievers in my life, and I plan on having. If money was no issue, I already have plans for if money was no issue. I have grand plans for things moving forward, which I'll keep to myself off the
That's okay.
the podcast. But it would just have to be land and family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Money.
Family, and inner wealth make me happy, not
Absolutely.
money.
The
So,
things, the
absolutely.
things, yeah. Well, that is awesome. Well, and guys, so here's the thing. If you are looking for, to buy or sell in his market and he is your vibe, reach out. We're going to put his information below. We'll tag him on Facebook. Hopefully he'll be able to figure
Oh,
out how to
goodness.
find that. That's why he has assistants and things like that. They'll help
That's
him.
why I follow all of her team on Facebook, so I know what's going on.
Yeah, what's happening?
Right.
So, if you have any needs in that market, please reach out to Scott. As always, we're so appreciative that you watched this episode. And if you would like to be a guest on the episode, or you would like to recommend someone to be on the episode, reach out, let us know. And as always, like, follow, and comment. And Scott, thank you so much for
I
being
appreciate it.
here.
It's
Yeah.
been great to meet you, and great doing business for the last 4 years.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.